Ooh, I am back. Sounding like Julia Child. Anyway, I'm back with another installment of Jewelry with Jen. And we are going to make a nice bracelet. We're going to use some nuggets and some rounds. It depends on what you get in your kit. I'm using nuggets today. Some little, they're not real turquoise. These are the anyway, they're turquoise colored nuggets. They are a rock, a stone. Gosh, what is it? I will think of it in a minute. Let me think. I'm back. It's howlite. So I'm using howlite nuggets, but I'm going to have a wide variety of little stones that I'm going to be giving out to everybody to use for your bracelet. And we're going to make a nice little bracelet with a combination of these stones and some trade beads. Yeah, trade beads, some African trade beads. I might mix some little seed beads in there as well, but I think I'm going to stick with the trade beads because I like them. They're colorful, they're pretty, and they give it a little bit more depth. So we're just going to make a nice kind of chunky little bracelet that you can wear throughout the fall and the winter and even into spring. And all that you'll need are your beads, whatever beads you want to use, some trade beads or some little seed beads if you don't have trade beads. They're not always the easiest thing to find. Some jump rings, an extender chain for your bracelet because we're making a bracelet, and lobster clasp. This is going to be easy peasy. Oh, and also some wire. You can use 20 gauge wire or 22 gauge wire. I'd go with those two. It's pretty standard. That's 20 is my go-to size, but you can use either one. 22 is smaller in size than 20. Remember, the larger the gauge, the smaller the size. And I would kind of stick with one of those two sizes. So let's get going. Oh, tools, round nose, cutters, square nose pliers. And that's pretty much it, except for a ruler. You can use a ruler. You can kind of eyeball this one, but I would go with a ruler if you're not really familiar with wrapping beads. A ruler is always a good thing to have on hand. But that's it. Those three tools, the round nose, square nose, and cutters, a ruler, 20 or 22 gauge wire, some tiny little beads. You can use 4mm crystals or seed beads or trade beads, and some larger beads, approximately anywhere from 8 to 14 inches, depending on or millimeters, depending on how chunky you want your bracelet to be. Some jump rings, anywhere from 6 to 10 millimeters on the jump rings, an extender chain, and that also depends on your wrist size and how much additional you need after you get all of your beads wrapped. That's it. That's it. Let's get started. Let's get started and let's get going. And I did that again. Why? Stop it. I haven't done that in months. So I'm going to give myself credit for that. Anyway, so here's what we're working with here. And what we're going to do is very, very simple. We're just going to make this little chain into a bracelet. Isn't that neat? I love it. It's very simple. So let's get started. Let's start with wrapping our beads. And the number of beads you need depends on the size of your arm, but we're going to have a standard number of beads, and then that's what the extender chain is for. You'll be able to make it bigger or smaller with that. You may not need the extender chain, in which case you can save it for something else, but it's always good to have options. Okay, so what we're going to do is take our bead. This is how I avoid having to use a ruler. I slide my bead on. You can either measure 1 inch to 1.5 inches on either side of your bead and cut that. Or you can just measure your bead and then add 3 inches, 2.5 to 3 inches to whatever your bead measurement is. And because I'm using nuggets, something that's not a standard size, I need to measure each one instead of trying to measure one and then cut all my pieces of wire, because that won't work because they're all different sizes. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my wire. Then I'm going to bend my wire back about 1 inch to 1.5 inches away from the end until I have what looks like a kind of curved upside down L shape. Then I'm going to take my round nose pliers. I'm going to slide them under the short tail of wire. I'm going to go down about 1/3 of the way down my wire. And how to determine how big you want your loops to be on your bead is to look at your barrel. You can kind of look at the size of the barrel, and that will give you an idea of how big your loop is going to be when you finish. That's probably something that it's easier to tell once you've been doing it a while. And I'm going 1/3 of the way down on my pliers, but all pliers are not the same. So that's why I said you should look at the barrel of the wire, of the pliers, to see approximately how big it looks like it's going to be. So now that I've got my pliers under my wire, I've clamped down on my wire in between the jaws of my pliers. I'm going to bring my short tail over the wire, over the pliers, until it's hanging vertical down with the other length of wire. And put that back in, I was just showing you. And then without taking the pliers out, just turn back the pliers and bring the wire the rest of the way over until I have my nice little upside down L shape again. And if that was straight, it would look like an L. So the short tail is sticking out to the side and the long tail is down, is hanging vertical. But there's my loop. Then I'm going to grab my square pliers and I'm going to wrap that short tail around the long tail just one time. I'm just holding it in place. Then I'm going to slide my bead on, and you can see I have way too much on this side. I'm going to go ahead and bend my wire back again, and I want my loop to go in the same direction on each side. So I'm going to bend it. There's my loop going left to right. There's my bend going to the right, same direction as my loop. Then I'm going to slide my wire down my pliers about 1/3 of the way again, just like I did on the other side. Bring that tail over the pliers and down until it won't go any further because the bead is in the way. Then I'm going to rotate my pliers back without taking the wire out, and then bring that tail of wire all the way under my pliers. And now it's a nice little loop. Then I'm going to grab my square pliers again, hold on to the face of my loop, and I'm going to wrap my wire around until I have a nice little cap on top. And I can cut that off. I like to curve this around. If I have to cut, I like to give it a little bit of a curve and then release it so that it's already on a curve so that when I have to push down the end, it will go easily. See, I have a whole inch of wire left. I hate that. Not quite an inch, but that's okay. I hate waste. And then there's that little end there sticking out. So let's push that down until it's nice and snug against the other wraps. If you can squeeze it under the wraps, even better. Let's go to the other side, grasp the face of my loop, and go ahead and finish wrapping my wire around the base of my loop. And if it's too short to keep wrapping, I just use my pliers. Hold on to this loop and wrap with my pliers. Slippery little devil. And then when I get to where I can't wrap anymore, I just push down that end and tuck it as close to the wires as I can get. And if I can get it under the wires, even better. So I don't want it sticking out, waiting to scratch my skin or snag my clothes. Let's get that nice and tucked. There we go. Very good. And I want these to be going the same direction. So this wire is very malleable. Just twist it until they're both laying the same way. Next, let's do another one. Same deal. Slide on my bead, check my length on each side, cut my wire, and you can go ahead and make this very, like these. I had more on one side than the other. If you want to count your wraps, you can do that if you want to be really precise about it looking the exact same on both sides, but I'm being very organic here. Third of the way down, wrap that over the top, turn my pliers, clamp back down, bring my wire under my pliers until I have a loop. Give myself a wrap, one wrap around, grab my bead, slide it on, bend back my wire. Again, I want to make sure they're both going in the same direction, and if they're not, I can just twist the wire until it does. Now, you might be saying, well, if it's that malleable, how's it going to hold in place? Well, first of all, we're wrapping this, so it's not going to go anywhere. And secondly, the more you work with it, the more it what's called it work hardens, meaning it stiffens up until it won't be as easy to manipulate. After you finish your piece, it gets nice and stiff. Here we go. Looks good. Bring that around a little bit, snip off that edge. Again, I like to curve it so it's not as hard to get it to snug down against the other wraps. Snip that off. Now, see this little end? I don't want it to go flying across the room, and it's really short and I may not be able to catch it. So what I can do is find something to turn it down into. This is very convenient. I can just put it down in between the jaws of these pliers, cut it off, and I captured it right there. Anything that you can use that is like a little well to capture the wire is a good idea, because you don't want to have to be crawling around on your carpet trying to pick up wire so that it doesn't get caught up in your sweeper and do damage. Or worse yet, you step on it because you're walking around with no shoes on. That's always a bad thing. And the other thing is, you don't want it to go flying in your face. And as your mother probably used to say, put your eye out. That's a bad thing. It's really not something you want to have happen to you or anybody who may be walking around in the room with you. Okay, I think that's good. I don't even think I have to cut anything. Let's just push that end down and under. Very nice. Give this a twist. I'm just holding each one of my loops and I twist it and they're both going the same direction. Nice. One more. And I think that might do it. Let me see. I want to make sure it's not too big because right now I've got that. I'm going to go ahead and do one more because if it's too many, I'll just make an earring out of it. All right, slide on my bead, cut my wire. Give it a bend. Slide that off so it's not in my way. Got my little L shape going on here. And you notice how I don't straighten the wire out. Why? Because I'm getting ready to wrap it. There's no reason to straighten it out unless you just want to. Okay, make my little loop down. Oh, and you know what? There's another way that you can wrap this. You can leave this in here and just wrap it like that way too. You don't have to take it out and use the other pliers unless you just want to. If I was going to go all the way around, I could just leave that in and wrap it all the way around there. Slide my bead on. Make a little bend. Bring that over. Wrap it around. And now I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean. So I can leave it in there and just wrap while my pliers are in the loop until I can't go any further. See, the reason I like to do the other one is because I get to this point and I can't go any further. This way, I can adjust my pliers if I don't have them in the loop. All right. Okay. Push that little end down. Got it on the curve. Got it nicely curved here. Okay, let's push that down. Nice. Go to the other side and finish my wrap. I like the way I have a little cap on top of my beads. That's why I give myself a little extra wire. You really don't need that much wire. If you want just a really simple wrap just to secure your bead, you don't need a whole 1.5 inches. Why? Because you only have to wrap it around 2, maybe 3 times. That's enough. Nice. Very nice. Okay, so I've got my beads wrapped. Let's go ahead and do my connectors. And that's very simple too. Just take my wire. I'm running out of wire here. And I'm putting 3 beads on each one. Now, the neat thing about trade beads is that they're not all cut perfectly. It's like seed beads. They're not cut perfectly. So on this one, I actually only have 2 because it's really long. And the others I have 3. And some of them are just trade beads are very interesting. They're made out of all different kinds of materials. I usually get mine from Fairtrade from Africa, and I don't have my little card that shows that you are supporting an African family when you do that, which I really like because I get paper beads that way. I get trade beads that way. It's nice. All right, so now I'm going to put, because you just need to decide how long you want your pins to be. I wanted my pins to be about the same length as my bead. So if you use a smaller bead, you might want fewer, a shorter pin, or you might want a small bead and a longer pin. It's entirely up to you. It depends on the look that you want. I went with a pin with beads on it that kind of matched the length of the beads, my main beads here. So I've got 3 beads on here for the most part. So what I'm going to do is put my beads on. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can put 3 beads on, which is what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to bend my wire back because I'm just going to do a simple loop. I'm not doing a wrapped loop for my connectors. So I'm just going to bend my wire back at around about the 1/2 inch mark and go down to my 1/3 of the way down my pliers and make a nice loop. Just wrap until the end of my wire touches the other end of my wire. Now, mine is a little tiny bit off center. See that? Little off center. So what I'm going to do is go in with my pliers and just clip off. See how this is maybe a 1/16 of an inch exposed. I'm going to clip off about that much. Now, I don't want this to fly again, so I'm going to turn that down. So now I've clipped that off so that it's open again. And now I have to close it up. And when I do, nice, neat, and tidy. Looks like a little lollipop. Let's slide my beads down. Oops. Bend my wire back. Like so. Cut it off at about 1/2 inch, 3/8 of an inch to 1/2 inch. Is a plenty, depending on the size loop you want. Cut that off. Grab my pliers. Slide my wire around in the place where I started with my other wraps, with my other loops, and make my loop. Just rotate until my loop is closed. There we go. Nice, simple, basic loop. Yeah. Oh, get back here. Nice. Okay, let's do a couple more of those because we need to extend. We need this too. This is what I'm using to link my beads together. Okay, bend it back, make my loop, and you can always put a bunch of beads on your wire. See, I'm off again, probably because I'm chitter-chattering. Bend it back, just make my little adjustments. Here we go. You can put all of the beads on and then just slide 3 up and cut off, and then instead of putting some on and then cutting and wrapping and then putting more on, you can put all of your beads on. As a matter of fact, I'll show you that. Cut that off at about 3/8 to 1/2 inch. And I'm just eyeballing it. Make my simple loop. So we have two types of loops here. We have the simple unwrapped loop, just a simple loop, and a wrapped loop. There we go. I'm going to show you the other technique. I can just put a bunch of beads on, whatever order you want them. Let's go with this turquoise one here. Okay, it's fall. Let's go dark. Yeah. And 3. Okay, bend my wire back at that approximate 1/2 inch to 3/8 of an inch mark, invisible mark. Wrap. Okay. Oops, close it up. See, there's a little gap there. I don't want a gap. I want it closed, nice, neat, and tidy. Then I'm going to slide 3 beads down. Bend back my wire again. Cut it off at the 1/2 inch mark. Again, it's an invisible mark. Close up my loop. Done. Go on to the next one. Bend. Slide. Loop. Adjust if necessary. Slide my beads down. Bend. Cut. Slide my wire down to my third of the way down my pliers. Wrap. And now I have a little bit of space in there. That's okay, but I don't really want it. And I like to show you how to combat things. There's just the teeniest, tiniest bit of space. And I don't want a tiny bit of space. So I'm just going to snip off the very tip of my loop. Snip that off. And now I have a little space in there that I need to close up. And that will take care of that excess wire. And if it doesn't, just snip off, oops, just snip off a little more. But that's good. Close that up, nice, neat, and tidy. Okay, how many of these do I have? I have 2 sets. I think that might just do it, but let's check it out. Let's link them together. So now, in order to do that, we just link our beads to a connector. So what I'm going to do is open up one of my connectors. I'm just going to take my pliers, find the little end, and I'm going to twist up to open it like that. Slide my bead on, twist it back to close, and there's one. Let's go to the other one and do the same thing. Now I want to make sure that the beads aren't twisted. I want to make sure they're side by side before I open it. So they're nicely side by side. Open my loop. Slide it on into my simple loop that's open into the closed loop of my bead. Might be a little bit of a challenge because it's going to want to move around. Come on, get in there. You can do it. Work with me here. Beads are moving. My loop is moving. Everything's moving. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Don't make me look like an idiot on camera. All right, let's try this again. One of my difficulties is that I'm trying to do it in such a way that you can see what I'm doing. And that makes it a little bit of a challenge for me. I'm going to scoot that over a little bit. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I've got it in there. Close it up. There we go. And there's my little link. Let's do the next one. Looks like it's twisted. Let me make sure. That's no fun. And see how this one's opened up? We don't want that. We want them to lay flat together. So I'm going to open this. So we can make that correction. Let's get that out of there. Okay, so what we need to do is make sure that one's laying on top of the other, because they need to be going the same direction. So this one's on top, the other one's also on top, and then I need to hook them in and then take a look before I close it up and make sure they look like they're laying properly. They do. Now I can close. That's the challenge of doing doubles. It's the same with jump rings. If you put double jump rings, you have to make sure they're going to lay properly. Okay, let's put the next two on and see if we can do that a little easier. Slide that on. Close it up. Goes on the first one nice and easy, of course. Slide it on. Close it up. Let's go to the other side. Open up my simple loop and slide on my bead. Now, let's see. Easiest way to do this. So that's going to slide on. Going that way. Yes. Close it. And then this one needs to be laying on top of the other one, so that when I slide it on, they are side by side. Where's my opening? There it is. Check it out. Side by side. And you don't want to get it caught in the other link either. So you're trying to make sure that they're side by side, not twisted up, not getting caught in the other one. It's a lot of fun. And I'm trying to do it in a way that you can see. So it's a challenge. So there we go. There's my, there they are side by side. Get in there. Is that correct? Yes, I do believe it is. Close it up. And is that good? It's twisted. Oh, Virginia, why? That one's going this way. No, that's good, that's good, that's good. Yay. Sure. Yes, they look like they're laying properly. Next, next, next. Okay. Open you up. Slide on the bead. Close. And it needs to go that way so that it can close up that way. Yes. Open. Slide it on. Close it. And there we go. Now, what I want to do now is check to see how it's fitting on my wrist. And right now, I am about there. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I don't like mine to be big and too floppy. So I'm going to go ahead and put on, let's see if I put 2 on, how's it going to look? It's going to be sort of like that. That's good. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 more sets of these on. And what I'm going to do is make my other 2 sets off camera so you don't have to sit here and watch me do the same thing over and over and over. So I'm going to be back in just a moment. Okay, all finished. All we need now is to put on our lobster clasp and our connector chain, which I don't really need because mine is the perfect size. Yay! But I'm putting it on anyway because I need to show you how. So all I need to do is take my jump ring, open it up. Oh, let me show you the proper way to open a jump ring. There's a couple ways. You can either use your fingers, find the little opening, and I'm using 6mm jump rings, so it's a little, this is a little trying. If you have bigger jump rings, it's easier to do this. You can find the little opening, put your fingers on either side, and twist. My fingers are too big to do that. So the other way, another way, is to find the opening again. There it is. Put my pliers on one side, my thumb on the other side, and push it down. It's the same as twisting. Wait, why isn't it going? It's the same as twisting it. What the heck? Oh, no wonder. This one is not flush together. One side is leaning on the other. So there's my little opening, and it was overlapping with the other side. So anyway, find my opening. If there's one overlapping the other, make sure that the opening that your end is on top. Put your thumb over on the other side and push down until it opens. Now I have a nice open loop. The third way to do it is to find your opening, put your pliers on one side, make sure if it's overlapping, which this is a little bit, that the opening, there's an opening on top and one on the bottom. Take your pliers, another set of pliers, grab the other side of your loop and twist. And there I have it. A nice, clean, open jump ring. Now I'm going to take my lobster clasp, slide it on my jump ring, and then I'm going to slide my jump ring on both of my connector rings. So I'm going to slide it in one, and then go over and slide it in the other one. And close it up. There we go. I want to make sure that the ends are nice and flush together. There we go. Nice, neat, and tidy. And there's my lobster clasp. And then I'm going to go to the other side, grab another jump ring that I just opened up, slide it on my connector chain on the end here, and then slide that over both of my links. One, and oops, let's hold them together. Try to slide them on both at the same time. One, and two. Get on there. There we go. So this one says, I don't want to go. There we go. And make sure they're nicely side by side. They are. Close up my ring. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Close, close, close. Make sure they're nice and tight. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I have a bracelet. Put that on. Now I can hook it anywhere. If it fits here, that's fine. Now I just have a little chain dangling down. And if I need extra, I can just find a place on the chain that works and fasten it there. There it is. There's my bracelet. Isn't that awesome? And you can use any kind of beads that you want. We're heading into fall, so I wanted something that was a little darker, but I also wanted some light colors. You can see these are a little darker, look more like Thanksgiving, kind of drawing away from spring and going around getting a little darker as I go until I make it fall. I just made that up, but whatever, it works. So let's go ahead and show you what it looks like. Okay, there's my bracelet. Let me get to the right camera. There it is. Isn't that pretty? Very pretty. I took these two off because it was a little big. Other than that, nice. See, I didn't really need the extender chain because mine's perfect size. But I wanted to show you how to put it on. There's my bracelet, and consequently enough, it matches my shirt. Isn't that nice? It matches my little blouse. So I'm going to keep it just for me. Okay, I must be punch drunk. Okay, that's it. That's it. That's it for the day. I like this. This is very pretty. Very lightweight. I love the chunkiness of it. Okay, and it really is lightweight. And I think it's because I put the little trade beads in the middle instead of doing a lot of heavy wire. Nice. Anyway, we're finished. We're finished with this particular one. It does not take a whole lot of effort. Very easy to do. I hope you like it. And I hope that you will make one. And I hope that you'll show it to me. at jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20@gmail.com, or post it on the library Facebook page, which would be facebook.com/DEKALB library. That's DEKALB library. I really would like to see it. I'd really like to hear from you. I'd like to hear your comments, your complaints, your feedback, whatever you want to ask me. If I can answer, I'll answer. Until next time, ladies and gents, have a great week. Have a great weekend. Make your own bracelet, and I will see you